challenge on a technical level to be able to do this today. And we really hope that you would be here with us, and you are with us, but we hope to be able to hug you physically soon also, okay?
Thank you, me too.
So I think we see everything is working quite well, which apparently because basically in order to be able for everybody in the Gompa to listen to you and to me and all that to work out, we had to do some tricks, but finally I think it looks like it's working, okay? So I think we can start.
Could we just check, Lama, for the English channel to make sure that that YouTube link is working? Because I just got a message that it's not up.
Okay, this now MTS is checking. We take advantage. I will just introduce the people who are here, what we are doing today, okay? Prima di tutto, chi ha bisogno della traduzione in italiano, c'è la traduzione simultanea, quindi chi ha bisogno che non capisce l'inglese, ok? So, today we are here to have this moment to talk together with Lilia, and she's doing a beautiful work in order to share with everyone the life of Lama Gangchen Rinpoche, help us to connect with his life, with his experiences, and so on. So today we will be doing the same. She will be bringing some questions to me to talk a little bit about Rinpoche's life. And it's also a way of, how do you say in English, of giving value and praising the work that Lelia has been doing with his podcasts, okay? So I'm very happy that we are together with you here. Lelia right now is in nearby New York. So
New Jersey.
New Jersey, and then so we are happy to have you. So now I give you can please start. So we
okay. All right. Well, it's wonderful to be with you, Lama. First of all, say happy birthday.
Thank you.
And yeah, and everyone here who's listening in there in the Gompa and on the streaming around the world. I wish I could be there live with you, but I'm so grateful for technology that we could actually be together in this way. And thank you for all the effort to bring this together, and Carmi and all the people behind the scenes. So yes, so I met Lama Gangchen almost 30 years ago, and I started this podcast 2 years ago, actually 2 years ago exactly, on Rinpoche's birthday, July 7th. And one of the reasons I wanted to start the podcast is I wanted to preserve these incredible stories of people who were the closest to him, who traveled with him, lived with him, studied with him, worked with him. And so right now we have 30 podcasts, 30 episodes. And for everyone who's new to the podcast, you could go to lamahealer.com. All the episodes are there. And one of the things that really inspired me about this was that when I first started my spiritual journey, many, many years ago, I read these books like the autobiography of a yogi, The Way of the White Clouds by Lama Govinda, and books about Milarepa. And they opened up this incredible portal in my mind about what was possible that was way beyond what I had known up until that point, about how yogis are and how one can live a life of just incredible compassion and love and clairvoyance and being able to heal oneself and heal other people and being a positive force in the world. And so the podcast is really, the motivation was to share these incredibly precious stories about Lama Gangchen, and what a great healer and humanitarian and friend and teacher. I mean, just such a profound person. And so I wanted to preserve them, share them, and preserve these incredible stories. So those of you who had the opportunity to be with Lama and study with him and travel with him, you know how lucky you are. But I'd really like to speak to people who perhaps didn't have that opportunity, or even new people who have never met Lama Gangchen in person. That to meet such a being I believe is like I always use this analogy, it's like a needle in a haystack. It's almost impossible to find, a needle in a haystack. And so to have the karma, to come to this place today, to be with Lama Michel, to be in this holy sacred place in Albignano, and to hear these precious stories about Lama Gangchen, and to be in the mandala of Lama Gangchen's energy, I consider you to be, all of us, to be the luckiest of the luckiest. Really, the luckiest. You're not just lucky, but you're the luckiest of the luckiest. Because if we consider, there's billions of people around the world, and there are billions of options, right, of where we could be today. But we're here. We're here to hear and be in the presence of, a living Buddha, and these incredible, and to get in touch with how precious that is. So Deborah Tabikoff has a new book out, and she said, there was one line in her book that really stuck out to me. It says something like, "Seeker, seeker, when you find what you're looking for, stop and rejoice." Something like this. So please, all of you, rejoice that you're here today. You are the luckiest of the luckiest. And with that, I'd love to have Lama Michel share his life with Lama Gangchen and his precious memories. So, Lama Michel, are you ready to go down memory lane with us? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, I always start at the beginning. Let's start at the beginning. If you could share with us how you met Lama Gangchen and what that experience was like when you very first met him.
Okay. First of all, I was thinking about this a few days ago, and one of the things which came clearly to my mind is that what I can share with you is not what happened, but what I remember. Because as time passes, our memory shifts, things transform. So, but there are some very vivid memories. And one of the very nice things of having different people is we can have access to different versions of what happened at the same time.
Right.
And what I remember is that I was very small. I was around 5, something like that. I was around 5 years old. And the first time I saw Rinpoche was in this Japanese restaurant. Rinpoche was in São Paulo, thanks to Monica and Claudio, that they wanted to bring Rinpoche to Brazil. And they had met Rinpoche in Italy and also had met Rinpoche in India, where Rinpoche had one tent in the hippie market in Goa with a red cross in front, written Tibetan Lama Healer. And then they met him there, and they wanted to bring Rinpoche to Brazil. So they had a friend called Professor Shahet, who knew my mom, and he said to my mom, "Oh, look, I can help to invite this Lama." And then they brought it to my mom, and actually he said, "Oh, you can help Lama to bring Lama Gangchen to Brazil." So when my mom accepted to do it, there was no anything like, okay, this is something that she's doing. She was helping friends. So we didn't go to the airport to see Lama Gangchen. The first day we met him was when he arrived. There was a meeting in this Japanese restaurant. And what happened was that in the moment that we entered the restaurant, when Rinpoche looked at my mom and my mom looked at Rinpoche, both of them start laughing. And they couldn't stop laughing.
Really?
And what I remember is seeing Rinpoche and having this profound feeling of familiarity and trust. And I remember very strongly this feeling of, okay, I have full trust more than my father, my mother, everyone else. And I just had this very, very strong attraction, the feeling of wanting to be together with him. The wishing to be there and stay in the house. I remember that he was in the house of Monica, and he was giving teachings and so on. And I had this feeling inside of me in which I simply wanted to be there, but I needed to find a pretext of why I wanted to be there. So I was like looking for excuses of other things, of why I wanted to stay in that house. And then finally I slept in the house where Rinpoche was, the first night that I met him there, not the first night, the next day. And since that moment, I think the way how I met Rinpoche was with more than the external context, which was particular, was this very profound feeling of attraction, of affection, of trust, which was very spontaneous. So it was a very magical moment. And this didn't happen only to me. There were different people there. It happened to many other people also to have this particular connection. And let's say that was the moment in which I met Rinpoche. And what is very interesting is that it was not a connection which in this life was created like gradually. We listen to talk about, and then slowly we meet, and then we will build up inside yourself an idea, and then gradually you meet the person. It was something which was like first sight, strong connection, full trust, and it remained like this for my whole life up to now. So there was no any moment that it changed in whatever way.
Wow, which is so extraordinary because you were only 5 years old at the time, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yes, yeah. So on our podcast, we also interviewed your father, Danny, and your mom, Belle, and also Monica. So it'd be interesting. They have very similar stories to what you just described. But one thing I want to ask you, Lama, is that back 30 years ago when I first met Lama Gangchen, one of our senior students, I don't remember exactly who it was, said to me that you and Lama Gangchen have a very, 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 very long history together. And that you've been together many, many lifetimes. And that in one lifetime, you are the student, he's the guru. The next lifetime, he's the guru, and you're the student. And so this cycle continues. Is that true? Can you tell us about that?
When I was around 12, when there was the moment that I went to live in India, in Sera Monastery, at that time, one time Rinpoche wrote a long letter. Okay, and I remember it was like, I think 12 pages long, 14 pages long letter. And before doing the ceremony of enthronement and all of that, and I remember we received this letter by fax in Mysore. Me and my father went to another city because where we were, there was no email at the time, there was no fax in the city where we were, so we went 2 hours by bus to another city where we received this letter by fax coming from Rinpoche. And this was the letter in which Rinpoche, he was actually telling clearly about my previous lives and about his previous lives and about this relationship that comes from life to life. And in this letter, Rinpoche specified very clearly, and after talking, also explaining the fact that there have been many lives together, and in many lives there have been this exchange of walking together, and in one life Rinpoche was guiding me, and the other life I would be teaching and guiding him. In this sense, this exchange of master and disciple from life to life. So Rinpoche recognized me as the reincarnation of one of his masters, and he gave me the responsibility to teach and take care of his reincarnation. And in other lives also the same thing happened in the past. But personally, I feel that it's something very truthful, but at the same time it's not something that I ever researched myself. I have full trust in what Rinpoche said, and it makes a lot of sense. But at the same time, I always had this very strong phrase of Buddha in my head, which in Tibetan says, "Ngama kangche tade lulate jema kanyan tade semlate," which means if you want to know what you did in the past, you should look at your conditions in the present, your body and conditions in the present. If you want to know what will happen in the future, you should look at your mind in the present. So basically, is there a strong connection with Rinpoche in the past? No doubt. This I have no any doubt whatsoever. And the information that I have about Rinpoche's previous lives and my connection of Rinpoche in other lives is what Rinpoche have told me and what he put in writing into that letter at the time and what he told. But it's not something that I myself ever went to research much and to look for, and it's not something that I believe that it defines much of what I am now, or even my relation with Rinpoche, Because what really defines the most is this such profound trust and connection and the ability to be on the same page, to connect with each other, to communicate in a way that goes beyond, beyond the words, particular. No? So when I was in memories of when I was 10, 12, 14, different moments, this profound, total trust on Rinpoche. This is something that I believe it cannot come just from this life. So, yes, it is a process of many lives together. Yes.
This is a really interesting point, because every single person that I've spoken to on the podcast, every single person said that they absolutely trusted Rinpoche. And many of them said from the very beginning they had this incredible trust. And it's so extraordinary, because if we think about, many of us, we don't even know our neighbors, or you pass people that you live in your community, and many people, they don't even say hello, or there's this lack of trust, I think, in society in general. And yet so many people said that one of the number one qualities that Rinpoche had is that they trusted him absolutely. So extraordinary, right? To have that kind of experience.
It comes from different reasons. There is one thing which is connection, which is there from this life, from other lives. There is the other thing also is that when we see someone in which there is full coherence, it's more easy for us to trust. When we are with someone that manifests stability, manifests coherence, is someone that we can see that it's someone that actually it's possible to trust. It's someone that, I believe that we have a ways of looking at other people and understanding others based on a known conceptual process. It's not something that we think about. And I think it's also connected to our evolutionary process as a humans. And there are some aspects which naturally we should trust. So I think when we see someone that is in peace, that is in harmony with oneself and others, someone that has so many profound qualities that are there, naturally it helps us to trust. It is something that comes much stronger into that. And then sure, there is also the aspect of connection from the past. But even only looking from this life perspective, this connection, this trust that it comes because we are not in front of an ordinary person. And the qualities that Rinpoche manifests, they are qualities that we look for. We want to have people that we know that they will love us, they care for us. This is the first thing of trust. One of the basic things of trust is knowing that you care for me, knowing that whatever you do, it will be done thinking about the best interest of myself. This is the first thing of trust. And this is something that was very clear with Rinpoche. And Rinpoche had this amazing capacity of actually being near to each person. And it doesn't matter who it was. Most of us could feel this intimacy and to feel very near and connected and very personal relation with Rinpoche. And this is something that was very unique of him. And this also helped a lot to build this trust on.
Yes. And many people also spoke about, and I have had this experience of this unconditional love. No matter what, I always felt no matter what I did, and even when I made mistakes, that he would love me unconditionally. And actually Radia, in our last episode, she said something so beautiful. She said, he loved me more than I could love myself, which is just so beautiful. And so I think so many people had this experience. Don't you agree?
I agree, because first of all, normally we have this strange way of relating to attraction and love. And one of our ways normally of loving is that we put conditions. We put conditions because our way of loving is a selfish way of loving. It's a limited way of loving. So I will love you in the moment that you correspond to the expectations I have. I love you in the moment that you give to me what I expect you to give to me, and so on. And even towards ourselves. We have an idealized image of what we should do, how we should be, and as long as we are able to correspond to that, we say, oh, I'm good, and so on. When we do not correspond, we say, oh, how bad I am, and so on. Mm-hmm. And one of the great qualities of unconditional love is the ability to actually simply love others independently of what they do, what they don't do, what they are not. And this Rinpoche manifested very clearly. So the way how he would love every one of us, that's what I saw always, was not based on judgment, was not based on, oh, did you do what you were supposed to do, you didn't do what you were supposed to do, and so on. Do you reflect the expectation that I would have? There was none of that. There was a basic, simple love without any sort of condition. And this is something that first of all, it's not easy to allow oneself to accept that one is loved in that way. It takes time to be able to go into that, because it's very normal in the beginning when someone loves us in such unconditional way, we will try to adapt. So there is fear of showing maybe a weak side of ourselves, and maybe Rinpoche will be upset with me because I do this or because I do that, and here and there. We bring our own dynamic. But after time, we see that it didn't matter how much we thought he would be upset and stop caring for us and so on, and there he would be always in the same way, with the same attitude, with the same love. And this is something that would help us to allow ourselves to be loved in this way. And this would help also ourselves to love ourselves in this way. And this is something very special. I have met very few people with this capacity, and Rinpoche manifested it so clear. Like one of the aspects of Rinpoche, I remember him putting very clearly, he would choose to give his friendship to others. If the other person will give their friendship to him, was their choice, not his problem. So he would say, I am your friend. If you want to be my friend or not, that's your problem. If you want to, I care for you, I take care of you, I love you, I am your friend, and I am truthful to my friends. Now, if you act out of love towards me, and if you are manifest friendship towards me or not, that's not something that will change my position. So I will continue to be your friend and to love you in whatever way. And one of the things that Rinpoche many times showed us was he was saying, first of all, I'm here to be your friend. Then, if you want, I can be your guru. So there was this particular aspect of always being there for us, first on a human level. First, on a very basic, profound human level of saying, I care for you, I am your friend, I'm here for you. There is no taboo about any issue. It doesn't matter what happened, what you did, what you didn't do. I care for you in the same way. And this is something that it's quite special.
So extraordinary. I mean, there's so few people in the world who have realized this state of love and friendship. Incredible. You know what was also incredible was when I was in his presence, I was sometimes shocked by how much I loved other people. Just by osmosis, receiving his love, I felt so much more loving towards other people. It was really quite extraordinary to experience that, right?
Yeah,
Wow.
It is normal that we are all influenced by each other. When we are in the presence of someone that has a lot of hatred and anger and so on, this influences us. And when we are in the presence of someone that it's with unconditional love and with a state of joy and peace and so on, we are influenced by it. So somehow, many times I saw people that when we were in the presence of Rinpoche, was a sort of magic, that we will be influenced by it. So situations that normally would never be acceptable, and many people would never ever gone through it, it was somehow normal. We had a sort of anesthesia, and this was by being into his presence. I remember many situations in all these years that were, if we take out of context, and we still say, no, I would never go through that, come on, that's not possible. And but through his presence and through his energy, it brought everyone that was around everyone that was able to connect to it, which were most of the people that were there, it was possible to experience another level of existence. You would not be in contact with that situation and would bring a natural state of a particular joy and connection. It was very strongly into that. This doesn't mean that there were no difficulties, that there was no suffering. It was not that. But very often, Rinpoche's presence was able to help us to be in touch with the better part of ourselves, this for sure.
So Lama, can you share a specific story that describes that, what you were just saying, how magical that was, one particular moment that stands out for you?
No, there were many moments, especially, for example, when we were traveling, There are many situations that normally we would make a lot of problems out of it. We are very much attached to our own comfort. And I see even nowadays, when people just thinking about traveling and not having the food as we expect and not being able to sleep comfortably and so on. And this creates a lot of blockage in the mind, a lot of tension and so on. And there were many occasions in which we were with Rinpoche traveling in Tibet or in other places, in the Amazon forest, many places I saw. And then there was basically many difficult situations, from the lack of food that we could eat and not sleeping in a comfortable place and having some very serious logistic problems and many other issues like this, and people just being completely blissed out. And it was something that when you look to it, say, what is happening? Maybe we took some drugs, or how come we are just happy? Right. And you are not eating well. You cannot sleep in the right way, and all this and that difficulty, and you are still there. You feel like one of the best moments of your life.
Really.
There are many moments in this way, which I can remember. And there was a particular feeling of being in the presence, in the physical presence of Rinpoche often, which was a particular sensation of peace. And I know many people that would go to him and maybe they were upset about something, and when they got near to him and then they were there, and then they came initially because they had something to complain and so on, and then they simply had nothing more to complain afterwards.
Right. He completely forgot about it.
This was something that maybe when they would leave his presence, after some time the complaint would come back sometimes. But while being in his presence, it would just fade away completely, And I think there are moments like this. There are different moments like this. Then Rinpoche had his own particular, let's say, sort of magical things that were nice to see, which is a sign of, for me, the most special thing were not these things that are, let's say, out of the norm, but it's mainly his ability of loving, his love, his friendship, his kindness, his level of acceptance. Rinpoche is maybe the person that I have ever met with the most open mind that I ever met, truly without judgment, and where nothing was a taboo. And he would always look of the best way how to use the circumstances and the conditions for the best for the person and for the whole, really in so many different ways. And for me, the most special quality was this ability of wisdom, this profound intuition that Rinpoche had. Like, I am a very logical person on many levels. And sometimes Rinpoche would say, oh, this way. And I would ask Rinpoche, okay, but can you explain me why and this and that? And sometimes Rinpoche would say, no. He would try to look for an explanation which would not really fit so much. And I said, okay, I trust, no problem, no need. No need to have more explanations. And I saw that Rinpoche's intuition was very profound. There were moments in which Rinpoche would tell me something and I would think about and would say, okay, Rinpoche, maybe do differently. And sometimes he would say, yes, okay, good idea, doing this other way. Other times Rinpoche would say, no, keep in this way. And I would say, yes, I follow. And one of the things that I really enjoyed was the ability to follow. I think it's really, really nice just to be a disciple, just to follow. I think I really enjoyed it. And at the same time, as I was saying, there were different moments, but one thing which I think is like curious, like something that normally many of us like to listen about. Some time ago, I was listening to an interview about some yoga masters, some yogis from India, that in the 70s, they did many research about them, about meditation on prana and different things in the United States. And there was one yogi that they did many tests on him. And one of the things which he explained was that he had the capacity to do what he called yogic sleeping. Yogic sleeping, the description that was given is that your body sleeps and your mind is awake. So that was his description. And what he was explaining is that he would go into deep sleep, but he will still have full awareness of everything that was happening around him. And this was something that I saw with Rinpoche so many times. And I never had a name for it. Then finally, when I was listening to this interview, this yogi was explaining what it meant by yogic sleep, And there were like many times that I would go to talk to Rinpoche about something important. And Rinpoche said, okay, explain this to me, come with a question. I would start explaining the situation. And then after a few minutes, I would see Rinpoche sleeping, snoring. So out of respect, I would stop talking and wait for him to wake up again, so I would continue. And then Rinpoche, when I would stop, he would say, no, continue. Okay, then I would continue, and then he would be there. You could see that he was in deep sleep, He was snoring and in deep sleep. And I would continue. In the beginning, I felt a little bit strange to talk to someone that is snoring. And but what happened was that in the end, when I would finish the subject, whatever I needed, then Rinpoche would wake up and he would answer everything. He had clear understanding of everything that was said during that moment, And I experienced it directly. I know other people that went through that also. This was one of the particular characteristics of Rinpoche. So he would sleep in different places. And this also connects to the fact that Rinpoche had this wonderful characteristic of allowing himself to be himself. Not trying to show to others an image based on what others would expect him to be, but truly being himself. So, for example, there was one time this lady, that was a Tibetan lady that was married to one Lama for many years. And she came to see Rinpoche here in Italy, and she stayed for a few days. And before going back, she went to Rinpoche, and she said, okay, Rinpoche, I really enjoyed being here. It's beautiful what you do, very special. But, I have lived with a Lama for many years. Can I be very direct to you and do some critics? And Rinpoche said, yes. And she said, I think it's really very special, but, when you are in the throne giving teachings and you fall asleep, that's really not nice, And while you are in the throne and then you sniff the nata, that's really not nice, It's not good. Maybe you do, but not in public. This doesn't fit. It's not good for your image and this and that. And then Rinpoche, in his immense wisdom of saying, like he would always do, he would never go saying no. First he would say yes, then he would say no after, no? So he went to her and he said, yes, you are right. But this would work if I would be with my disciples for a few hours from time to time. But I am with my disciples 24 hours. So I have no choice but just to be fully myself. And I am all the time dedicated to people. When I am tired, I sleep. And it does not make no difference if I am in the throne or if I am at home or here and there. I'm doing the same thing all the time. So whenever I feel tired, I sleep. And normally this would be during Francesco's translations, no? That while Rinpoche would speak, but having this capacity of being aware while sleeping would allow him actually to understand what was going on. Most of us would not know that, But he would not care if somebody would look at him and say, oh, why he's sleeping or this or that. There was no any type of this way, which is very normal. Like there is a story that Rinpoche told me once of one important geshe, one Lama living in Europe, and one time one of his disciples came to his house to see him. And what happened was that when he arrived in the house, this Lama was making bread. So he had his hands dirty with flour. No? So he received the disciple with the hands under his cloth, not to show his hands that were dirty. But he thought the disciple would come only for a few minutes. But actually he stayed on and talking and talking and talking. And then at one point he forgot about the hands and he took on and he did something and the hands were dirty. And the disciple saw that he was hiding his hands, And then he asked, but why? And the idea was that, oh yeah, I am the Lama, I am not supposed to be doing simple things as cooking. And the disciple got really upset, saying, why do you need to hide from me what you are and what you do? What is there anything wrong into it, So Rinpoche, he told me the story once, and then he was very clearly saying, I am here to be together with everyone, having nothing to hide of what I am. So I am what I am, And if I fall asleep, I fall asleep. If I have my own habits, I have my own habits. And I am here to be in service of everyone without needing to manifest an image different of what I actually am, And this is also a very special quality.
Yeah, very special. Very, very special. And his quality was always to be there for us. He was talking about the sleeping. I always had this feeling that he really never really slept because he would be on I always heard stories of people calling him all hours of the night from all over the world, asking for his help, and he would pick up the phone and he was always there and available for everyone, for all of us. Extraordinary. Yes. One time, I just wanted to tell this story. One time we were in Bobador, and Rick, my husband, and I, we were there together, and it was the night before we were about to leave. So after we had finished the whole day's activities and being in the meditation room after the classes, and we had already eaten our dinner, and we went to say goodbye because we were flying back to New York. And it was about 10 o'clock at night. And so, those of you who've been to Bobador and many new people, you get up at very early, like 4:30 in the morning, and you go up to the stupa and you're circumambulating. It's a whole day. And Rinpoche, is working the whole day. So right when we walked into the room where Rinpoche was staying, someone had just served him a tray of his dinner. And they put the tray on his lap just as we were walking in, and he looks up at us, and I said, oh, Rinpoche, we'll come back, no problem, we'll come back after you eat. He said, no. He takes his tray of hot food, puts it next to him, and then sits and talks with us. I mean, who does that?
Sure.
Who does that? Nobody does that. He was so selfless in his love for all of us.
Yeah, you remind me of one time we were with Rinpoche in Tibet, and I think we were in Lhasa that day, and Rinpoche had received so many people from early morning. There were many, many Tibetans coming, and many people, and it was really late in the night. I think it was already like maybe 1 in the morning, something like that, or 2, was really, really late. And then finally, the last person went out of Rinpoche room, and I went to Rinpoche, and I said, okay, Rinpoche, now maybe good time to rest, And he said, no, I still need to go to see one person. And I knew who the person was, and according to my judgment of the moment, it was not something priority, And was someone that was upset because of this and that, which was something superficial. We don't need to go into details now. And I said, Rinpoche, I go to talk to this person. Please, you rest. And I said to him, your love and your patience have no limits, but your body needs to rest. So please, you go to rest. I will go to talk to that person and see if this person needs something. And then Rinpoche looked to me and he simply said, every day we make the prayer, may all beings have happiness and its causes. May all beings be free from suffering and its causes. Then when it comes to the one that is in need, we say, no, I don't go. I said, okay, let's go together. I accompany you. So wow. Rinpoche went there, took like half an hour, whatever. And this was another thing he was showing, was the fact not to judge suffering. Because something that is stupid for me, it's not for the other person. And the other person is truly in a state of needing support and help. And those that were around him and in his contact, he would take care in whatever way and whatever means he had to do it.
I love this. I love this story so much. And for everyone who's listening, I think this is the key to, such an important key to having energy to do things in one's life, is to have this superior motivation to help and to be of service and to help people overcome their difficulties and their sufferings. And in witnessing Rinpoche, he had this indefatigable energy, and because of this commitment. And I notice sometimes for myself, if I don't want to do something or if I feel tired, many times we always feel tired, from our work, whatever our work is. But if we have this greater context of, I'm here to serve others, I want to help others, it gives us energy. It gives us more energy to continue. We don't have to sleep so much. We don't get as tired as easily. It's really funny. Those of you who are Bruce Springsteen fans, I'll bring in a little pop culture. Bruce Springsteen's 74 years old, and a couple nights ago he was actually in Milan performing. And the guy is amazing. At 74 years old, he's traveling around the world. He does a 2.5-hour concert, full speed. He has this incredible energy. And so my husband's a big Bruce Springsteen fan, so we said, how does he get this energy? And I've been observing him as to why he has this energy. And I think he was probably a preacher in a past life, because he has kind of this preacher way of singing sometimes. He says in his interviews, I'm here to bring love and energy and light to people. People need love and light in their life, and they need joy in their life. And that higher purpose gives him this energy, sure, to do the kind of rigorous travel that he does and performing that he does. So I love that you highlighted that, Lama, because it's so important for all of us to have a higher purpose. If we want to have a lot of energy, a higher purpose to be of service and to help others. And of course, that's the Bodhisattva path, have more inner peace and joy in our own life when we serve others. But I love what this example that you gave us.
Generally speaking, strong emotions give energy. They have a lot of energy within them. So, for example, if we are in a situation with a lot of fear, we have a lot of energy. We have a lot of strength. I understood this one time, when I was looking at Rinpoche, and he would come back from a long trip, and he would go to the Gompa and be with people and all the time doing things. And I connected it to one time when I was a small kid. And I was with my cousin, and we were playing with a kite. And we stayed until late. The kite went really very far. And when we went back to the house, there were many, how do you say in English, stray dogs that were around. And there were maybe, 10, 15 dogs, and they start barking and coming towards us, quite aggressive. I think I was 9 years old, something like that, 10, maybe no more than that. So I really got afraid when I saw this many dogs coming, and they were really aggressive. And what I did was that I saw a big stone in front of me, and I took the big stone and I threw it in the floor, and the stone just made a big noise, and then the dogs escaped. The next day I came to the same place to play, and I just said to my cousin, remember what happened yesterday? And I just took the stone, I wanted to throw it again, and I couldn't lift it above my own knees. It was so heavy. And then I asked myself, how was I capable to lift that big stone yesterday and above my own shoulders and throw it far? And today I cannot even lift it above my own knees. And that's the power of fear in that case. When we have strong love, strong compassion, strong faith, it has the same power on another way. It gives a lot of energy. It nourishes a lot. So this feeling of service, when there is the understanding that you are in the service of others, but it's a privilege to be in service. It's not a situation in which...
It's not a burden.
It's not a burden, and there is no sacrifice within it. No, this gives a lot of energy. One of the difficulties that most of us we have is that we act through a selfish way. So we are thinking about the I and the my all the time. So I am tired, I don't want, I don't like, I this, I that, and this drains our energy away. The more we are truly able to be in front of someone and understands that we are there to serve and have the joy to be in the service of others, this gives a lot of energy. And this reminds me one time, I was in the front of Rinpoche's house here in Albagnano, and I don't know why that moment, but we were the two of us. I was holding Rinpoche's hand, and we were about to get out of the house. We just put my shoes on, and Rinpoche looked to me deeply, and he said to me, remember, what our duty, he was referring to himself and me as lamas, he said, what we are here to do, our duty is to serve. We are here to serve. And not as a burden, I say, not as a sacrifice, but as something that gives a lot of joy. And this is something that I believe we all need to learn so much from Rinpoche, because one of the greatest teachings that Rinpoche had was his example, And Rinpoche was not here to have a position of, how to say, to save us of something. He was just to show us the path. And in his way, how he was living, being in this selfish way, and really taking care of others, and being here to serve others, and always acting in a peaceful way, and having no taboos, and so on. It's very good for us to look upon Rinpoche and say, wow, how incredible he was. But it's still more important for us to look at him and say, that's what I want to become. And I can make
exactly.
it. I think this is still more important, because we need to be sometimes careful of not entering into that position in which we may put, Rinpoche in the highest of the places, which is correct. But then we put ourselves in the lowest of the position and we say, okay, he was everything, I am nothing, and I take refuge in the sense you take care of me. But Rinpoche was here because he trusted us. He trusted that we could make it. That's why he was like tirelessly, every day saying, peace with everything, everything with peace, talk with peace, listen with peace, sleep with peace, wake up with peace, and so on. And he was like in this very kind and gentle way telling us what to do. And showing us the path in this way. This is another particular characteristic of Rinpoche, in which he would do some very serious stuff, showing it and doing it as if we was like just playing. So he will teach us the process of death, of the elements of death, and looks like we are playing. He will do really important things in a very soft way, not somehow not making any pressure. And this connect me to one moment with Rinpoche when I was very small. And there were two things that were together. There was one first situation, then there was an advice that came after. But it was in the same moment. And one of the nice things was, one of the things that I learned from Rinpoche in particular was also how to relate with money. Because Rinpoche had this very particular way in which money was very clearly just a tool. And a lot of money would go through his hands, and nothing would remain in his hands. The money would come and would go, and he would do so many things. And one time when I was in India, when I first went to India, when there was this enthronement ceremony, many people came from Europe and Brazil and different places to the enthronement. And at the time, I received many offerings, and I was living in a very simple life at the time. I was very young, and me and my father, they were really living with not much money, traveling by train, no money for the plane or whatever in that moment. And I remember that I received all these offerings, and it was a lot of money for me. So I brought all this money with me. I don't remember the exact amount, but for me it was a lot. And for a few $1,000s at the time. So I went with this money to Nepal, and then I put all the money into Rinpoche's room. He had a sort of a safe, which was a luggage, where all the money would be inside. And I said, hey, Rinpoche, can I keep my money here before I go back? He said, yeah, yes, put the money here. Then the day before going back, I went there to take my money, and there was many little pieces of paper written, puja at this monastery, helping this person, this for that, all the different small pieces of paper where the money went. So Rinpoche, he looked at me and he said to me, okay, I give you two choices. Okay. First choice is, I manage, and all the money, what was there, I give you all the money now. I have no problem for that. I manage. I take from somewhere else, I manage, and give you all the money. Second choice is, my money is your money is my money. And I said, I choose the second. You know? And there was always this very beautiful way of not making this division. There was no this thing as my money, or problem with money, and this and that. And Rinpoche really showed in many ways how to relate with money without taboo and without attachment. Where money is nothing more than energy and is a tool for anything. So money comes and money goes, and it just flows in this way, you know. And this was something which was very important. But at that moment, after saying that, Rinpoche gave me one advice which was clear what he was saying. When talking to people, remember that people do not like to listen no. So first you say yes. Then you give direction.
I need to tell my husband that one.
Okay. And Rinpoche was saying, if you say no, the natural reaction would be to do the opposite. And he said, this is how people are, teenage, children, old, adults, it doesn't matter. You know? And if you would look, also when talking to Rinpoche, Rinpoche never liked that when he would say something to us, we would answer no. So he would say, whenever we say something, he would say, first you say yes, then can come there. So for example, I learned that whenever Rinpoche told me something, the first thing was to say, yes, Rinpoche. And sometimes it happened like Rinpoche would say something that I was not able to do. So the answer would be, yes, Rinpoche, to do what you tell me, I need this and that, which I don't have now. What shall I do? Then you don't do. Okay. You know? But there is a big difference of in the first step saying no and blocking, and saying yes and then sharing with the other person the conditions that you have in order to fulfill that. And being together. So for example, many moments I saw Rinpoche, I saw many times him being not upset, but saying to people, first you say yes. Yes, Rinpoche la. So first answer should always be yes. And that's what he would always say to us, you know. Whenever we would ask anything, the first answer would always be yes. So this was one other thing that Rinpoche was teaching us, that not to create this first moment blockage. Because if I ask you something and you don't have the means to do it, and you say no from the beginning, you are not open, and I am not open finally to find a solution together.
Yes.
If I ask you something and you say yes, you know, but how do I do it? And then from that we open, and then I will come to understand you, you will come to understand me, together we find a different solution, and this will open other doors. Yes. And this was something which was also very special that I saw very often, which came also with another aspect, which was one of the things that Rinpoche taught me in practice, was to believe in the impossible. It's when we believe in the impossible that the impossible becomes possible. And we can see this here in Albagnano with the temple and many other things where Rinpoche would say to believe in the impossible. And then gradually the impossible can be possible. With one important characteristic, which is I saw Rinpoche putting many projects in his life, but not everything went as expected. You know? And he told this story that when he went to Tibet to meet the Panchen Lama in 87, in the end of the trip there was a project together with Franco, with the Panchen Lama and Rinpoche, to make a hotel in Shigatse for Tashilumpa Monastery together. And when they arrived in Beijing, for many different reasons, that project could not go on. Reasons that didn't depend on us, but the project could not go on. So Rinpoche said to me that when he arrived in Beijing, the Panchen Lama asked him to go to meet him. But Rinpoche was so upset that the project didn't go on, that he got sick. He had very high fever. So he said to the Panchen Lama, sorry, I cannot come today, I have high fever. Please tell the Panchen Lama I will come tomorrow, I have high fever right now. So the Panchen Lama sent a message back saying, what you mean you have high fever? Come right now here. So Rinpoche went to him, and that's what Rinpoche told me. He went to him, and he was like quite weak with fever and so on. And then the Panchen Lama looked at him and said, what? Because one project didn't go on well, now you are with fever? He said, if I would be with fever every time I do one project and it doesn't happen, I will already be dead so many times, So he said, when you make one project and it doesn't go on for whatever reason, this is the reason for you to start another 10 new projects. And Rinpoche learned it very well, the lesson. We could see that in so many different circumstances. And one other thing that Rinpoche told me about this, that he was saying what he would do in many occasions is where he would see opportunities, possibilities. And he would throw many seeds. And he say some of them would grow, others not. And that's okay. Yeah. So there will be no attachment to the result. And this reminds me of one particular moment, which was also a lesson from that. We were here in Albagnano. It was in the period, I don't know if it was New Year, Losar, something like that. But as a matter of fact, I have a very bad memory with dates and time. But during that time, I remember that there were like more than 200 people in the center for some teaching course. And everybody was expecting Rinpoche to be in the Gompa. But at that time, the relics of Buddha were coming. There was a ceremony of the relics of Buddha in Geneva at the UN. And that time, Trijang Rinpoche was there, Gonsa Rinpoche, and other lamas, so they were there. And Rinpoche wanted to go to that ceremony. And I said, Rinpoche, okay, very nice that there is this ceremony, but what about the 200 people here? Rinpoche said, no problem. We leave in the afternoon, we travel the whole night, we reach in the morning, we do the ceremony, and we come back for after lunch, we are back. I said, okay, but why do we need to go through all this hustle? Can't we go to see the relics 2 days after? And Rinpoche said, because I want to bring the relics to Albagnano. And I said, Rinpoche, come on. The relics, they are owned by a few countries. They have a very specific rule that the relics can only go to one city at each country one time. And if the relics come to Italy, why would be Albagnano? That's not like a main city in Italy. And then Rinpoche just said to me, when you see an opportunity, you do everything to catch it.
Oh.
I said, okay, let's go. So we left, we went there, we traveled the whole night. When we arrived, the drivers went to sleep at Carlotta House. We washed our face in one fountain near the UN in the park. And then we went to the ceremony, finished the ceremony, we came back, we reached on time. And the next day, who was in Albagnano? The custodian of the relics.
Wow.
And then it was also the Rinpoche's way of bending reality somehow and bringing his objective. He wanted the relics to come to Albagnano, but it was not the best place for the relics as a main city in Italy. So he invited the relics to come to Milan. It was accepted. He organized the whole thing in Milan, was very beautiful and everything. He says, so the place the relics will visit will be Milan. The place where the relics will pass the night will be Albagnano. So we have the place to sleep is Albagnano, but we do the activity in Milan, And like this, he got both. So there are many examples of moments in which Rinpoche, he would see an opportunity and he will put his whole energy into it. And sometimes it will come out perfectly. Other times it would not be the right moment. So, for example, when we think about Albagnano, Rinpoche, he had a vision in the 70s, his own vision. Then there was an oracle also, and saying that he needed to establish himself in the place where there would be 5 mountains, in the center mountain with a lake in the front, surrounded by forest. So he built a very small house in the south of India, thinking that may be the place. There was an artificial little lake with a very, very small hill. He said, we cannot take these visions literally. Maybe it's that. And then it didn't work. Then he tried in the place in the north of India, it didn't work. Then he tried in Greece, it didn't work. Then in Italy there was a moment which he thought was Bagni di Lucca, and he said, okay, there is no lake, but there is a river, it's always water. Maybe that's the place. And he tried, and it didn't work in the same way. And finally, but he never gave up. And finally, when Albagnano arrived, it had all the exact characteristics as his initial vision. But what I want to say with that was another lesson is like he had his own vision, he had his own intuition, and he would go for it. And it didn't mean he would get it in the first trial. He tried once, twice, thrice, 4, 5, maybe in the 6th time, and then he got it. But he would go for it until the end. You know? So there is these two aspects. One is planting many seeds and see which one will grow. And he did this with all of us also. He will see the qualities in us, and he will say, and he will put water in our seeds. Some of them would give beautiful results, others not. And it was okay. There was no problem with that, you know. And so this is something which I think it's important for us to see this trust in the future, and we put our energy without attachment of the actual result, how things would be, you know.
Yeah, this is really, really so inspiring to hear you talk that, to tell these examples. Because how many times for many of us we wake up thinking, oh, this can't happen, you know, I'll never be able to do that, or this is impossible. And you're showing this example of just making the impossible possible, and this effort, constant effort and belief that it will manifest. Yeah. This is so inspiring to hear this.
And it's also the matter of connecting to the light and not the darkness.
Yes.
And there was a time when a journalist asked Rinpoche, how come you have so many friends? Which is true, because sometimes I joke, you know, we are the 1,500 intimate friends, you know. It's like, and so many would have this feeling of being an intimate friend. And it was true. And the answer that Rinpoche gave was, because I relate to the qualities of each one and not their faults. And he gave me one time the example, saying that when he was in Italy, in Pomaya Center, this was in the 88, 89, something like that. I don't know exactly the year, more or less in that time. At that time, he was in Pomaya teaching, and then at that time, Duccio, our friend that paints the tankas, was there. And then Duccio made one painting of one tanka, and he offered to Rinpoche. And Rinpoche looked at it, and what he thought was, it's really terrible. That's not a good painting at all, you know. And then he looked at, but he saw potential. So he went to Duccio and said, can you paint me another tanka? And he gave a commission to Duccio to paint a tanka. He even paid him for it, you know. And he said, but you know, maybe do here a little bit like this, there a little bit like that. So Rinpoche saw the motivation in Duccio. What Rinpoche told me, he said, I saw potential. Then I ordered another tanka. The second tanka was bad, but was better than the first. And then I said, now you do a little here, change a little bit there, but can you make another tanka for me? Do another one. And he would always be in the positive way, always telling, make here better, make that better. And finally, you know, Duccio makes the most beautiful tankas, and Rinpoche's own personal tanka in his room were tanka made by Duccio, you know. Yeah. So this is an example that he would give, saying, if when you see a potential, you invest into it. Sometimes it goes really well, like this case. Other times it didn't, and it was fine.
Yeah, Duccio tells this story on our podcast. We had an episode with him telling that story. Yeah, he had this belief in us, but and also, I think the other thing that everyone is talking about on the podcast, the different episodes, everyone says that Rinpoche saw our capacity and he believed in us. And he saw our capacity and he helped us to develop our capacity, which is so extraordinary. You know, it's just so extraordinary to have someone in your life who believes in you in such a full 100% way. And so, I always think about, wow, I want to be more like Rinpoche. You know, you're sharing all these incredible qualities, and many times I'll ask myself, what would Rinpoche do in this situation? Or I'd love to know what his thoughts are. I want to be like him. So I think this is something for all of us that we can aspire to, right? To have these kind of qualities and these kind of qualities.
Yeah, but there is also another aspect which is important. One of the greatest signs of trust that Rinpoche had in us, and here by us, I don't mean only the people that met him. Okay? I mean us as Westerners living in this modern society and so on. All of us who are present here today, you know, those that have met Rinpoche personally and those that didn't meet him personally. The greatest sign of trust was his teaching us self-healing. And his transmitting Dharma and giving us his lineage. Because Rinpoche very clearly said, you know, I can do many practices of healing. And in the beginning, in the first years of Rinpoche in the West, he would somehow manifest much more clear his uncommon qualities. Okay. So we have many people that in the beginning Rinpoche would show directly some qualities of healing and clairvoyance and other things. Later in time, he would show it less and less. Sometimes Rinpoche even looked like he would manifest like if he was not understanding anything when he had everything clear. Okay? And what he told me clearly, he said, look, what I want is for people to be able to heal themselves and not have a dependence of the Lama that is there and they need to depend on the Lama to cure and this and that. So, and he said, I saw in the beginning when I came to the West, my main thought was, okay, I will share the Dharma, I will do some healing, but then after some time I will go back to India, in Nepal, or wherever in the East. And he said, but I saw in you, Western people, true valid containers to hold the teachings and the lineage. So that's why I taught you everything I know, because I know that you are able to put it into practice and to realize it. And you know, today, one of Rinpoche's disciples of many years, one of our friends, he passed away a few hours ago. His name was Paul. And I went to see him maybe 1 month ago, something like that. I was with him. And it was so beautiful to see this man in a very difficult situation, physically speaking. He had some terrible cancers and he was not able to speak anymore. All sorts of difficult conditions which we don't need to come into details right now, but really, really, really difficult. And he was so peaceful, so grateful, so joyful, you know, completely connected, putting the Dharma into practice in the most excellent manner, and the way how he dealt with everything. And this reminded me today, when Rinpoche many times he said, oh, we need to have people that will get enlightened in the West. We need to have, yes, we have the stories of the Mahasiddhas of the past, of the great masters of the lineage, but we need to have these new examples of people nowadays. And one of the great signs is the way how we die, and the way how we deal with the most difficult moments of life, you know. And we have one example of today, you know. Paul, he was being a disciple of Rinpoche for many years, practicing the Dharma very seriously in many ways, and there he is, you know, dying peacefully, dealing with his disease in the most excellent way, and these are all signs of realization. You know? And these are examples that we can all do. We had our other friend Burma, who also had the most amazing way of dealing with things. And I think it's really, really good for us to be able to see that we can make it. And this was something that Rinpoche trusted so much. He entrusted us with what he had the most precious, which was his lineage, his teachings, and he entrusted us with it. You know, and this is not something that I myself as a Lama, I have certain responsibilities, specific responsibilities. But Rinpoche entrusted his lineage to all of us by giving us his teachings and really sharing every secret of his mind, bringing in the most way. And this is something that shows full trust in us.
Yes. And Lama, then could you say something about, many times, you know, I've been teaching Rinpoche's practices for many, many years, and many times people say to me, well, I don't have time to practice, or I'm too busy. And, you know, can you say something about that? Why why is it that we don't practice? When we do, we feel incredible. We know it's beneficial for us, but how come we don't do it more often? Can you give us some advice?
There are many reasons for that. One of the reasons is that we do not have the habit. Second reason is we do not have the habit of having constancy. With many things in life. It's not a matter of only the meditation practice of self-healing or whatever. It's a matter of having difficulty, having constancy, because we are very much addicted to very strong stimulation. So we always look for something new. You know, it's interesting, like, even if you go to meet someone or to watch a movie or to go for traveling, one of the things that we listen often, oh, I have already been there. And so what? I have already seen that. And so what? The point is not to consume it. The point is to experience it and transform oneself. You went to that place. Was it good for you? Yes. So that's a reason why to go back again. It's not a matter of, oh, I have already seen it, it's done, you know. But we need very often always new things and new. So even I remember with initiations, like, oh, this initiation I already took. That's the reason why to take it again. Because you need to make more stable the practice, you know. But there is this way of needing, we have an addiction of having always new things and having this stimulation. So to repeat the same thing, after sometimes we get bored. And we are afraid of being bored. This is one thing also. Okay.
We're afraid of being bored.
We are afraid of getting bored. We want to have new things and so on. This is one thing. There is a moment in which we expect a magical thing from the practice. So when we are really in a bad situation, the practice, we feel stronger the result of the practice. When we are doing well, we will feel less the result of the practice, because to work on a deeper level, it takes much more effort and much more time. So what happens often is that whenever we see that the dirt is on top of the table, then we take it out and we feel, oh, look how wonderful I was able to clean it. But once the table is already clean and we do the cleaning again, we see no difference. Because the stains that are on the wood, to take the stains out, we need to scratch it a lot. We need to put much more effort, and we are not really willing so much to do that. So we waited for it to get dirty again, and then we clean it again once. This is one reason. Another reason is because we are out of balance. And when we are out of balance, we are attracted to the things that will bring us more out of balance. We are not attracted to the things that will bring us well-being and balance. Okay? So this is why we have attraction to things that are harmful to us, for example. So one of the beautiful things that Rinpoche taught us about this was that it's important to practice adapting to our own capacities and needs and without many formalities. Rinpoche is maybe one of the only lamas that I met that he would do the pujas and everything in any place with whatever conditions, it didn't matter. You know, we could do tzok with whatever was there. There was no need of big preparations and big things, come, do, here, that. It was like all the time applying into every moment and applying the practice at every place and every moment. It didn't matter if it was 5 minutes by car, he was doing Guru Yoga practice. It didn't matter where it was and so on. So there was puja everywhere, practice. So this is another thing. If we are there creating the moment, oh, I need to wait the right conditions in order to do, now it's not, then it will never happen. And this is something Rinpoche was showing us, and adapting to the capacity of each one. This reminds me of one story in which Rinpoche told that he had a friend in India, was a Lama, Kagyu Lama, and he was a very serious, simple practitioner. And all his life, the only mantra that he did was Om Ahum, nothing more than that. He would only do Om Ahum. And Rinpoche at the time was living in Varanasi, and from time to time he would receive a call from him saying, what happened? I don't know, I am in jail. And then Rinpoche would go to the police station to help him. And basically he would be caught on the railway without ticket, without permit. As a refugee, he would need to make request of permit to go from one town to the other. And this guy didn't understand anything about that. So from time to time, they will catch him without the documents, bring him to the police station. Rinpoche knew the guys, people there, so he would come and he would take him out. And Rinpoche was saying that he had this like very, very strong, simple mind of practice. Was one mantra, one way, only Om Ahum, and very strong connection, and he would practice very beautifully with that. So one time even he would do like some even extreme things in his practice, but the point which was Rinpoche was telling about this man was, he was just doing one mantra and in a very serious way with wonderful results. And it's beautiful. He ended up getting this Lama. He married one lady, I think it was in Denmark or something like that. And he ended up having one Dharma center where the only thing he would do was to play flute for the people. So people would come and he would play flute. Not one word of explanation, nothing. He would do only Om Ahum and play flute. That's all. So this is one way that the practice can be done in so many different ways in accordance to our capacities and needs. And this is something that Rinpoche showed us in many moments and many different ways also.
Yes. Well, could you give us just a quick snippet, though, of how to be more disciplined? You said we're attracted to things that aren't good for us, yeah? And that this getting bored or always wanting something new. Could you give us maybe a tip of how we could become more disciplined so that we could actually benefit in our lives? We all know that we benefit from our practice, our meditation. So some like a hack. We call it, a hack.
Okay.
A strategy, tip.
First of all, there are no shortcuts.
Okay.
Okay. I'm
American, we're always looking for things that are really quick.
Okay, yeah, but they don't work. Okay,
great.
There is no quick fix. It doesn't exist. As Rinpoche would say, what exists is hard work miracle. No? And so one of the things is that why we don't put energy into something, maybe we are lazy. Let's call it in this way. So laziness is the union of two things. Laziness is when we put together the certainty of the importance of something. Yes, I need to do my practice, I need to meditate, combined with the lack of desire for the same thing. So I know that is good, but truly I do not want. So how do we overcome it? Cultivating desire, cultivating the attraction to it, seeing the pleasure of it, connecting to the bliss of it, reminding ourselves of the pleasure and the benefits. And we need to cultivate desire. We need to nourish desire for it. Otherwise, it won't happen. So one of the ways is, we as human beings, we do anything only out of three main motives. Or we see benefit, or we avoid harm, or there is a moral issue. These are the three only reasons why we would do anything. And so that's why we make commitments. That's a moral issue. That helps a lot. And my advice here is make short-term commitments, not long-term commitments. For example, take a commitment. I will do the practice every day for a week. And if you think that you can do 1 hour practice, commit yourself to do 20 minutes. Okay, so always commit something lesser than what you think that you can make. And at the same time, commit yourself for a short period of time, not a long period of time. And when you got to the end of it, you can say, do I want to renew my commitment or not? Yes, 1 more week. Okay? Because if we put an objective and we live like for forever, every day in my life I must do self-healing, then it's just wish fulfilling, positive wishing. It's not really happening. If you say, okay, this next week I will do self-healing every day for 1 week, then you do. Then when it comes to the end, maybe you are in the 5th day and you say, come on, only 2 days there. Then you keep on it. When I finish the week, you say, was it good? Yes. Shall I continue? Yes. And this is something that really makes the difference. It's like, I remember one time I was in India in a place with a small center, which were the first people that brought Reiki to India. And at that time there were like the commitments of Reiki written on the wall. And the commitments were all started, I don't remember what they were, but the commitments all started by only for today.
Oh, I love that.
So only for today I will do self-healing. Okay, tomorrow, only for today. Only for today I will be more careful with what I say. Okay, tomorrow I can say any stupid thing, but only for today. You know, it's like when I went to the United States when I was a small kid. Today I went with my grandparents to Disney World, and one day I think we were in Miami, and I went to a restaurant, and outside of the restaurant there was a big sign written, "Tomorrow beer is free." And when you get there tomorrow, the sign is still there. Tomorrow beer is free. Okay? So somehow, if you put a sign for yourself, only today I will do this. And then tomorrow the sign is still there. Only today I will do this, you know. But
I love that.
the important thing is to make commitments, jokes aside, the important thing is we need to make commitments for short term and renew our commitments. This is something that's important.
Yeah, and in one way, it's kind of a mental trick to overcome laziness and boredom too, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna write this, put this in my office and on my computer and on my phone, only for today. I will do my practice. I love that. We can all do that, right? Yeah, awesome. So Lama, do we have some? Can we continue? Do we have more time, or we need to close? I know you have a full schedule here today in the Gongpa.
I have no idea about timing, actually. What time are we supposed to finish it today? Okay, we can have a few minutes more. I think we can have 10 minutes more. The only thing about what you just said, it's very good to do the commitment, only for today I will do the practice. We just need to be careful not to go into the other way, which you say, only for today I will skip the practice.
Yeah, right, exactly.
And then you get to the next day, and only for today I will skip the practice. That's what we do normally, you know? So you need to go on the other way.
Right. It's like working out, you know, getting exercise too, or eating well, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
But this actually, Lelia, brings us to one very fundamental aspect, which is in Buddhism, the first step, which is called in many different ways, which is loving oneself, renunciation, we can call in many ways. But one of the clear steps that we need to do in the very beginning is to go through the challenge of being able to cultivate what is beneficial, even though we may not like it, and to abandon what is harmful, even though we may like it. And this is the first challenge that we have on our path.
Yes. Yeah, and that applies to smoking, or not getting enough exercise, or drinking wine, or whatever kind of habit, right?
Yes, sure.
Yeah. So that's really, really useful. Thank you. So Lama, was there a healing that you witnessed? Because Rinpoche was a great healer and a world-renowned healer. People came from all over the world to be healed by him. And, many people, I heard many stories of people who Western doctors, weren't able to help these people, and they came to Rinpoche and he healed them. So is there a story that you could share with us about a healing that you witnessed, or maybe for yourself?
There is one nice story which I witnessed myself. There is one which is somehow funny also, which my mom told me once. But first, the one that I witnessed myself. We were in Tibet. And when it comes to healing, there are different types of diseases. No? So there are some specific types of disease which are more easy to heal through the spiritual healing, let's call it. So we were in the monastery of Gangchen, and came one boy, and he had his face and arms, they were full of some sort of wound, okay, and of a very strange disease. And at that time, Rinpoche called some of his doctor friends that were there to come to see him, and then he asked the boy, "Oh, did you go to the lake nearby?" He said, "Yes." "Did you do pee-pee in the lake?" He said, "Yes." Okay, so he said this is a Naga disease, a disease which was created by this element spirits of the water. So then Rinpoche started blowing on him, in this, blowing a lot on him. And then he said, okay, you come back tomorrow. And then the next day the boy came back and these wounds were basically gone.
Wow.
And then he called the doctors again to see, now you see, This is something that cortisone cream doesn't work on, It's like, it doesn't heal the Naga problem. So it's like, these are things this is one example. Then, one time when Rinpoche was in the first years in Brazil, he was doing a lot of healing. So people would come, and normally he would take the pulse. And then one day came one lady. She had actually quite a problem, because she needed to do a surgery on her genitals. And the problem was that it was very swollen and they were not able to do the surgery. And she was really in a lot of pain and in a lot of difficult situation, and she didn't know what to do. So she went to see Rinpoche. So Rinpoche was there and she explained her problem. And Rinpoche, very directly, it was there, I think Claudio Cipulo was translating, my mom was there together. Rinpoche was sitting on the floor on a cushion. So Rinpoche told her, okay, stand up, put your panties down and skirt up. And then he started on her, blowing, and then she was completely pale, And then he said, okay, you can go. And then a few days after, the lady came back with a big thing of roses to Rinpoche. And she said, when I went back home, I started to feel better, and now I am completely good. Thank you so much.
Wow.
So this is like one story that is there. And there are many things like this in these years that it was somehow normal in a way. But one important thing also, is like, I personally believe that what a healer does is to create the right conditions. It's like a doctor, just using different tools. But it depends also on the karma of the person, on the commitment of the person, on the connection of the person, on so many other factors also. So this is one thing which is for me very clear. And one other thing which is important also is I saw many times people coming to Rinpoche having different disease, and Rinpoche saying, be careful what's the name that you give to your disease. Because the name that we give, it brings a very strong impact on us. So Rinpoche, he used to play a lot with words, He used to say that he had this sort of crazy secret English, and he would play with words. So he would say, oh, this is not cancer, this is cancel. You're canceling the negativities from the past. This is not cancer. And the way of how, or people that they had maybe a tumor, I know one friend that had a tumor, and Rinpoche would say, this is your jewel. And it's okay, no problem. And this lady, she went on, never had any real problem with it for a long, long time. And there was one moment when she said, okay, now you can take it out. But it was a different way the way of giving name to things changes the impact that we have on it.
Yeah, it's a reframe.
Yeah. So this was something that was also there. But Rinpoche was not like against any type of medicine in this way. It was not like, going against all doctors and medicine, not at all, but was the way of integrating and taking the best of everything together and putting things together. This was really also another special quality. I just want to say that because sometimes we may have this understanding, we go through some other particular type of healing as something in opposition to our modern Western medicine, and Rinpoche never did that.
Yeah,
it was always a way of integrating and supporting each other and so on.
Yeah, the integration, yeah. Well, one thing, Lama, I'd like to ask you is that there's many people who are listening around the world who haven't met Lama Gangchen personally. And, now he's not in his body. So how do we stay connected to this holy energy, this incredibly profound energy that he has? Just if you could give some advice for all of us, how do we stay connected with this energy, with his, profound healing energy? Or how do we connect even if we haven't met him?
First of all, through his practice through his teachings. Cool. You know, in the moment that we do self-healing, naturally we are connecting to Rinpoche.
Mm-hmm.
You know? When we learn to know about him and we connect, for example, people that have met me, many of the things which I can share is because I received from him. And there is a connection that happens naturally, you know. And I see myself as a duty to share the memories and to help to keep the memory of Rinpoche alive to those that have never met him at the same time also. And but to do that, actually, how to say, I'm trying to make it simple and short, but there is a concept in Tibetan Buddhism which we call commitment being and wisdom being. Okay. And basically what happens is that whenever we see the image of someone, for example, I see on the computer screen, I see your image. Okay, I'm not seeing you, I see a representation of your face on the screen of my computer. Okay? But because I know you, in the moment that I see an image representing you, naturally, automatically, I connect myself to you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And yourself, you are your own wisdom being. The representation that I see on the screen is the commitment being. Okay? So when I see an image of Rinpoche, the image is like a bridge which can allow me to connect to the wisdom being, to the actual being. And this goes beyond the fact of Rinpoche being alive or not in his body. And the point is that when I have met him and I see an image or I listen to the name or I say the name or I think about him, for example, for me, one of the most strong ways to connect to Rinpoche is to remember his smell. Rinpoche had a very particular smell. And that is something very powerful also. But when we connect to any of these so-called commitment beings, Samaya Sattva, they are like a bridge. And automatically we connect to the wisdom being. Okay? So in the moment that we introduce someone that have never met Rinpoche, and we tell the stories, we explain, and naturally this creates this connection. So in the moment that anyone sees the picture, listen to the name, says the name, think about, visualize, and so on, the connection is happening. And this is always there. So this is something that why it's so important. For example, I have never met Lama Tsongkhapa, at least in this body. You know? And so what happened is that, but still when I see the image of Lama Tsongkhapa and when I say the name and I make the prayers, there is a very strong connection that happens. This is because I was introduced to Lama Tsongkhapa by my gurus that were introduced by their gurus. And this is what we need to do to those that have never met Rinpoche, so this connection is kept alive from generation to generation as time goes by.
Mm-hmm. That's beautiful. Really beautiful. So let's all stay connected. Yes, every day. And I think making offerings also is a huge way to deepen the connection, right? Making offerings every day to Lama and to the whole mandala. Yeah. So Lama, could you just in closing then, if someone is new on the spiritual path or someone who would really like to deepen their spiritual path, is there some advice you could give to us?
I think the main thing is be truthful.
Mm.
You know, we don't need to be part of anything. One of the things that Rinpoche showed us is we are not here to be Buddhist. We are not here to have a certain name and a certain tag saying, oh, I am this or I am that. We are here truly to grow and to develop ourselves, and this is the main issue. So on this part, I think it's really very, very important for us to be truthful with ourselves on our path and learn to trust ourselves and trust our gurus and our Sangha and to trust the Dharma. I think this is really, really important. And as Rinpoche have shown us, to love each other without fear. This is also something very important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very beautiful. Beautiful. Love without fear. I love that. Well, thank you. This has been an incredible conversation, and I'm sure all the people listening will be taking many of the things that you said and really contemplating it and look to apply it to our life is so incredibly valuable and precious. Yes. And let's keep Lama alive in our hearts. And for you, Lama Michel, thank you so much for carrying the torch. I see how hard you work and the effort and the love and the commitment that you put into keeping Lama's teachings alive, and all the books that you're writing and sharing and the streaming. You're putting so much effort and so much joyful effort. I see you really having that same quality as Lama. It's really beautiful for keeping us all connected, and you and Lama Caroline together, really kept us all together in such a profound way, especially after Rinpoche left his body and during COVID. And I think our global community is stronger now than ever. That's the feeling that I have. Yes? Sure. And so those of you, just a little plug for your book. Lama has a new book out. Has a new book out, Dove vai così di fretta. Did I say that okay?
Very well.
Yeah. So I really look forward to this book coming out in English.
Yes.
So we can benefit from that. And so we also have 2 books coming out with Life with a Lama Healer. Wanted to share that with all of you also. One is a collection of stories about Lama Gangchen, and then another one is a book of quotes from all the guests on our podcast. So sometime this year we'll have those published, and I'll be able to bring them to Italy, come to Italy and share them with you all. Yeah. So in closing, Lama, was there anything last comment or that you'd like to share with everyone around the world who's listening in before we close?
I think mainly one thing is to say thank to you. Thank you for, putting the effort to keep the memory of Rinpoche alive and sharing with everyone. Mm-hmm. And what I think is important for each one of us is to have trust in each other. Have trust, because when we see also special human beings, we have more trust in the human race. And
yes.
We are in a moment in which it's important for us to see there are so many positive people. There are many positive things, I had the opportunity, Rinpoche took me to meet so many people, and Rinpoche was extremely special. I never met any other Lama like him, but still I met many other special Lamas and special people that were not Lamas, and I know them. And we need to trust each other, and we need to see that it's possible and put our energy in the light, be part of the solution, And this is something that Rinpoche showed in many, many moments. Even in the most difficult moment and wherever there were problems, he would say, okay, where can we put our energy to make it better? And I think this is something that we are. Otherwise, we go into the state of complaining and saying this is not well, that is not well, and this and that. And it's important for us to put our energy to be part of the solution. And never to give up for peace. And Rinpoche always reminded us, inner peace is the most solid foundation for world peace. And I think now, I would not say more than ever, but as the same as ever, because it has always been like that, it is really, really, really important for us to take it seriously into consideration for the life of each one of us, to put our effort to take care of our own inner peace, to take care of others, and to put energy in the solution. That's the main thing.
I love that. So important. Thank you. That is really, really so important for us to hear right now at this time in history, given what's going on in the world. Yes. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Lama, for all your wisdom. Really, really special. So if anyone would like to connect with our podcast, go to lamahealer.com. And all of our episodes are there. This particular episode with Lama Michel we'll be making into an audio as well. And also our YouTube channel, Life with the Lama Healer. We're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, so you can stay connected and listen to these incredible stories about Lama Gangchen. And if you'd like more, for the new people, if you'd like more information about Lama Gangchen and his humanitarian work and all the centers around the world and Lama Michel's teachings, Lama Caroline, go to nalso.org, right? And you'll, a whole ocean of resources there. Yeah. So Lama, thank you so much. It's such a privilege to talk to you and to do this in front of our global audience.
Yes, thank you, Lydia.
And yeah, wonderful to be together today. Thank you for the opportunity.
So
Yes.
see you very soon.
Okay. In
Okay.
Albaniano.
Yes. Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you, Lilia.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful to be together.
Nimo dele tsendele, nime kuyan delek shin, nintsen takto delek pe, kuncho sumke chingi lobo, kuncho sumke ngodrubo tsol, kuncho sumke trashisho. At dawn or dusk, at night or midday, may the three jewels grant us their blessings. May they help us to achieve all realizations and spring all the path of our lives with various signs of auspiciousness. Trashidile. Thank you, Lilia.
Tashi delay. Grazie mille.
Ciao, ciao.
See you soon. See you soon.
Facciamo adesso, no? So, we conclude this part here like this today. There is Tönla, which is now going to do on the second floor, a beautiful moment with the Tibetan singing bowls. Okay? And it's also part of the fact that Rinpoche had always been there putting a lot of emphasis not only into the formal part of Dharma and Buddhism, but connecting it with art, with music, with painting, with so many different ways. And then Rinpoche, he pushed a lot Tönla to put energy into the playing, so it's a way of offering of him. So please enjoy. And then I see everybody tomorrow morning. Okay? Thank you.